Hey guys, it's Bet here. I just wanted to make a more in-depth video talking about how my experience has been making the transition from playing Rainbow Six Siege on Xbox to playing it on PC. So just to get it out of the way early, this is not going to be a comparison video directly comparing between the console and the PC. This is more of a sort of what to expect if you are a console gamer that chooses to get a PC. I had my own sort of personal reasons to do that, and I'll share those at the end of the video as a sort of here's how it was, here's why I chose to switch sort of thing. But first, I sort of want to talk about my experience switching. Hopefully this video will give you some insight into whether or not you'd like to make the switch yourself or whether it's worthwhile to you. So in order to sort of help you make that decision, I want to focus on some of the upsides and some of the downsides of coming from console to PC. I guess one of the upsides that a lot of people talk about, but this video isn't really going to cover, is graphics. Now my brother played on the free weekend with me, and he was just playing on his old laptop, and the laptop could run the game, but only just. So it was getting like 720p lowest settings, like 40 frames a second. It objectively looks worse than it does on the console when playing on his PC. So I feel like if you're looking to make the switch to PC, you're not always going to be buying a PC that's vastly superior to the Xbox. Maybe you just can't afford that. So for me to sit here and spend a good portion of the video telling you, oh well, the graphics are a lot better, 120 frames is a lot better. It's easy for me to say that, but that may not be what your particular experience may be like. So I'd rather focus on some of the more gameplay aspects, or maybe even the community aspects, the like mouse and keyboard versus controller sort of thing. In order to sort of keep focused on those, the first thing we're going to talk about is we're going to talk about aiming on console versus on PC.
Eliminate all hostiles.
So in order to facilitate this sort of in a controlled environment, I'm playing the first situation, the very basic one that's on Hereford base, once through with a controller, which is what you're watching now, and then once through with mouse and keyboard. I just wanted to sort of, you can see it took me a long time to get that way, that guy. I just wanted to show the difference sort of in a controlled environment between mouse and keyboard and controller. I think it's fairly well known that a controller is just a more inferior way of aiming. Arguments could be made that a joystick may provide better movement than WASD. But having the joystick for aiming versus having the mouse for aiming, the mouse definitely wins hands down, and hopefully you can see that in the following clip. There are some other benefits that sort of add to the overall game that are changes because the aiming is easier. I felt like on console, the holding an angle meta or waiting really late to push is a lot more prevalent, it felt like, on console than it did on PC. On PC, I definitely had a lot more confidence to go in and just sort of play what I saw, as opposed to on console, I always like to have a drone in front of me, or I'm always playing a support role. I feel like on console, because it's more difficult. All right, here we go with the PC. So you can see I was trying to get as many sort of like headshots as I could using both methods. And you can see it's just a lot easier for me to move and to shoot with the PC controls than it is to shoot with the console. Even though I have significantly more hours playing this game with a controller than I do with a PC and with a mouse and keyboard.
3 hostiles remaining.
Now going back to the advantages of having sort of a quicker reaction time and more precise aiming. I feel like it adds a little bit more to the game because you can play a little bit more aggressive. I felt like the game overall felt faster paced. A couple of times I felt like, oh hey, it feels like it takes a really long time to scan people on PC. But then I realized it doesn't take a really long time to scan people on PC. It actually is just taking that much. It feels like it's taking that much longer because it's a lot easier for them to shoot my drone. So then my drone gets killed before the sort of process for aiming for scanning the enemies completes. Also, vertical play is a lot easier to do on PC because you can aim up and down along the y-axis considerably faster than you can on console. At least if you want to have any sort of semblance of control, your movement's going to be slower on console when moving your aim. Um, and this allows you, like, you feel more confident playing hatches. You feel more confident blowing out floors. Anyway, so I just wanted to touch on that. So uh, that aspect of switching to the PC, the whole aiming with the mouse thing, it gets a big thumbs up from me. And I'd say it changes more about the game than just the aiming. Um, uh, just sort of being able to hit headshots better. I'd say it also sort of changes up the way the game can be played. Rarely do I get more than 2 kills on console. I just don't play in that style because I just can't run in and aim fast enough on console. But on PC, I felt like I was more confident to sort of throw my aim around and play what I saw and play a more aggressive role. And I felt like that sort of opened up another aspect to the game that, yes, some people do it on console, but I felt like it was easier for me to do it on PC, even with having limited experience. Now, speaking of limited experience on the PC, I wanted to talk about sort of some of the downsides of switching to PC. All right, now on to some of the more in-depth things that may be seen as downsides coming over from console. And I would say the major one is that playing the game feels familiar and yet different because your mind sort of knows what to do. So you already sort of have a pre-programmed from playing on the console. You have a pre-programmed response to things. And I felt like just coming over to PC, it's a lot, and this might seem like an extreme example, but it felt a lot like when I had knee surgery 2 years ago and I was sort of learning to walk again. I'd walked before and I knew that my knee could work, but sort of the weight and stuff that it could take and the time I had to put in to sort of make it work again felt really could feel really frustrating because well, it did it before, how come I can't do it now? So you sort of feel that way when you're playing the game, as you feel like, oh well, before I knew what button to press. I knew how to take out, switch to Buck's shotgun, shoot a few people, switch back to his gun without feeling like, oh, I don't know what button to press, or oh, I knew how to drive my drone around and spot people because I knew what the spot button was, right? So I felt like on PC, especially sometimes, and one example I'm going to use the leaning, because on PC you can lean at any time. When I was doing the situations and stuff, I was sort of teaching myself, all right, when I enter the room, I'm going to be leaning this way, and then I'll look around this corner, and then I'll switch my lean to the other way, and I sort of did that, and I had it on toggle. But then when I was playing online, I found my first reaction was to lean one way or another. It wasn't to aim in, it wasn't to shoot, it wasn't to crouch, it was leaning. And it's taken me a while now, and I'm still not super comfortable with it to sort of relearn, I guess, what buttons do what and what I need to sort of instinctively press at different times. If you feel like you're somebody that either doesn't have the patience or doesn't have the time to relearn the game on a different platform, it's probably not worth you spending the investment, especially if you're going to make a big investment getting like a really high-end computer only for Rainbow Six, to make that investment. Just because if you don't have the time to really put in, I don't feel like you're going to get as much out of it as you may think that you would get. Me personally, I feel like it was worth me investing on a PC because not only did I want to play Rainbow on the PC, but I also sort of wanted to use the PC to have better editing software, to be able to stream and play games at the same time, to play other games that are only available on PC, like PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds and stuff like that. So for me, there was more that I considered than just like, if I only wanted to play Rainbow on the PC and that was my only driving force, maybe I would have made a different decision. I'm definitely happy playing it on the PC. I feel like the difference that you get in the aiming with the mouse is such a big improvement for me that I feel like it almost could warrant making the change by yourself, and especially now that I've seen that the game can run on fairly limited software and still be playable. I'm talking about playing it on my brother's laptop. Um, that I think that would also influence your decision as to whether you were going to buy the game or not, or to make the switch to PC. For instance, some games, another again mentioning PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds, um, the intensity that it takes to run that game from the PC computing side, you'd have to have a fairly high end PC to even run the game at an acceptable level. So if you were buying a, let's say, like middle of the line or sort of lower end PC to play that game, then I would say you'd have to reconsider until you either had the finances to buy a better PC or just not bother. But for Rainbow, I feel like you could buy a fairly middle of the line PC and you'd be happy with the performance that you would get while playing the game. So some of the other reasons I guess that I switched, aside from the fact that I was always already sort of looking at getting a PC, are as a content creator, I can sort of share my experience as I'm doing in this video of the transition from console to PC. Should I make it? How does it feel? A lot of the things I didn't know going in, I knew about like the cosmetics and stuff didn't transfer. I knew that my progress wouldn't be saved and all that sort of stuff. But I sort of had more confidence in my own ability to sort of work the keyboard properly and know what buttons to press. And I expected, like, I was a platinum on Xbox fairly consistently. I felt like I should be able to drop into gold right away. And I feel like I'll probably end up dropping into silver. So I feel like that's something that I didn't really expect. And I hope you got that from me talking about the controls part of the game. It felt like that was something that I hadn't expected. In the end, it's something that I could live with. But maybe you're somebody, like I said, that doesn't have the time or the patience to put into sort of learning a new input method, right? Using the keyboard instead of having the control pad. So that's just something that, I felt like me buying the game personally, then I can sort of add that as a benefit for me is make other people aware of sort of those changes. The other thing is when you're producing content from the game on the PC, I feel like people are just generally more receptive to that, and the better aiming can allow your content to be more interesting as far as just base gameplay can go. And you can have people that play on console and still make great content. But there's people that, the highest level of gaming is always just going to be on the PC for this game. So if that's something you feel like, oh, I want to get better. Oh, I want the game to be more responsive. Oh, I feel like I would have got that guy. I would have got that guy if I didn't have to deal with aiming with the joystick. Then I feel like if you're having those sort of frustrations to the point where you feel like you're not enjoying the game as much as you could be, then I would say, yes, definitely make the switch to PC. Because I feel like it gives you that extra little bit of, all right, okay, now I feel like my aim is doing what I want it to do, right? My response time feels a little better. I did feel like the connection even felt a little bit better on PC, and it could be that I went from a wireless connection on my console to a wired connection on my PC. But I did feel like my shots and stuff were connecting a little bit better, especially over the free weekend on the vanilla servers. Now that I've been playing on the TTS, it's been a little bit more unstable, but I feel like that's to be expected. Um, but yeah, that's sort of the reasons why I switched. Just a couple of things that I want to mention before we sort of end this video. There are a couple of other things that are sort of miscellaneous stuff that may affect whether or not you want to play on PC. One of them I just mentioned is the TTS obviously is only available on PC, the technical test server. So if you absolutely have to get access to those operators like right away, when they come out in the testing phase, you want to know what they're all about, like, and you don't want to be waiting the 2 weeks. Then I'd say like having a PC for that feels really good. It felt exciting for me to play them for the first time in the TTS instead of just watching other people stream them or watching videos about, oh yeah, this gun's really accurate, and you're like, well, this particular person I'm watching makes every gun look really accurate because they're just better. And then some of the guns got to console and you felt like, oh no, this wasn't what I was expecting at all. So the TTS is one difference between uh, console and PC, that if you have to have the TTS, then you'd need a PC to run that. So that may be a factor in whether you'd consider to move. A factor that I feel like is a non-factor, but some people may feel like it's a factor, um, is toxicity. On console, I feel like there's a lot of people that complain about like team killing or about teammates being toxic. And I feel like from my short time playing on PC, I would say that the toxicity level is basically the same. The toxicity level on PC felt about the same as it did on console. Um, I felt like there were still teammates that were complaining when people made certain plays, or you wouldn't clutch, and then people would be like, "Oh, that was dumb," or "You suck at this game," or you'd face an enemy team and then they'd be being toxic, where like they'd spawn peek, or they'd run outside, or they'd just play really really aggressive. And I feel like that probably has something to do with me playing ranked on the TTS, and people just don't care, so then they'll play just stupid aggressive. But that was something that I did feel like was basically the same as on consoles on PC. So there's definitely toxic people on both platforms. So to make the argument, oh yeah, I'm gonna play on PC because there's less kids than there is on console and they're not as toxic. I'd say if that's your only reason for switching, or your major driving force for switching or for wanting to go from console to PC, PC can still be toxic. I feel like that's something that across all platforms that you're always going to find toxic players. It's sad, but it's true. In order to completely avoid toxic players, at least on your own team, one of the best things you can do is you can get a full team of 5 that you play regularly with. And that's another reason I wanted to sort of briefly mention at the end, another factor that could be whether you would consider switching from console to PC, and that is where your friends are playing. If you have a great group of people on console that you always play with, and you're always running a solid 5, and you always feel like you're having a good time, and if you made the switch to PC, you'd be sort of looking for a new group of friends. Maybe none of your real life friends play on PC. Maybe they're all Xbox, or maybe they're all PS4. Um, I would definitely consider that in whether you're going to make the change or not. One of the things that I had luckily when switching to PC was that 2 of my friends already had the game on PC. One of them I knew from playing on console, but he also had it on PC. And then one of my friends, my brother actually, sort of made the switch with me to play on PC. So that sort of gave me, a group of 4 of us that could play together and sort of experience the game. And I feel like that's something that if I had not have had that, I don't know if I would have been wanting to look for a completely new group to play on PC with. That's totally a personal thing. But I would say that the number one way to make Rainbow enjoyable, at least to me, sort of regardless of the platform, is having people to play it with. A quick example that's kind of off topic is Fortnite. I played Fortnite on PC and on Xbox as well, because it's free and I can have it on both. And on PC, it undoubtedly the control scheme is better. You have more control over what you're building. The frame rate is substantially higher. It has significantly less lag. It runs way smoother, and I prefer to play on console. Why do I prefer to play on console? Because the people that I play with that play the game are on console. And I have a much better time playing with 3 people in a squad and me, right? 4 of us in a squad that I know than playing solos by myself on PC and just not having the same experience. So I would say that's a big thing to consider. It's not game specific, but if you feel like you're going from a place where you have friends and you have a great community that you're playing with, and then you go to a place and you're like, oh yeah, playing on PC is a lot better, but now I don't really want to play on it because I don't have people to play with. That's totally up to you whether you feel like you want to do that, or whether you feel like you can convince your friends to make the investment with you to switch to PC, which I would totally say if you can get your friends over to PC, it's worthwhile. But to leave your friends to play by yourself may or may not be worthwhile, depending on how good you are at making friends on PC. So now that I've rambled on for significantly longer than I sort of expected this video to be, let me know in the comments below whether this information is useful to you, whether you feel like this feedback is good, whether you've always played on PC and you don't care what somebody that comes from console has to say, whether you're somebody that can only play on console and you can't fathom out how to use keyboard and mouse for the life of you. You just feel like, oh, I can't sit at a desk to play video games. It's just not how I play video games. I got to be on the couch. Yeah, let me know. And hopefully you guys like this review and this sort of my first impressions thing. And until next time, keep doing the best with what you got.